Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Christian Sport Bike Fellowship. This is our 12th and last meeting for the year, and I'm excited to have all of you here. It's good to see all these new faces. Haven't met most of you here, but it's all good. We're like a family. And today we are going over the topic of an unwasted life, and then we're going to ride to Alice's. So I'm going to try to do this by memory. If I make a mistake, then please forgive me. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics has some stats on how Americans spend their time. It says that they spend around eight hours a day sleeping, which is a third of the year. The full-time working person spends 8.5 hours during the weekday working, which is equivalent to about a quarter of the year. They spend 2.3 hours doing household activities like laundry, cooking, cleaning, which is about, I think, 10% of the year. And they spend, well, it says women spend 4.9 hours a day on leisurely activities like watching TV and social media, but guys are even worse. They spend 9.9 more hours on leisurely activities. So that's a lot of time spent on like TV and social media and stuff. And I'm pretty sure if you guys live in the Bay Area or work in the Bay Area, you probably average at least 1.5 hours a day commuting, and that really sucks. So there's this idea called the American Dream. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. It's kind of like when you're young, you study really, really hard to get to a good college. Once you're in college, you study really hard in order to get a good, well-paying job. And then once you get the job, you're spending like 8 hours a day or a third of your day working so that you can make money to buy a house, so that you can support a family, that you can save up. And then when you're like 65, you get to spend the next 15 to 25 years just chilling with whatever money you have left. And then eventually you'll pass away and everything you've accumulated, like, what is it for? So I think as sport bike riders, specifically sport bike riders, we might not even make it that long. I think I think a lot of us, we have like this desire to really push our bikes to the limit and to see how fast our bike can go. And a consequence of that is getting into accidents or hurting ourselves or wrecking our bikes. I've talked to a few people and they wanted to come to this meetup, but they've wrecked their bike. They've like broken their leg. They're not able to make it. They're like, maybe when I get a new bike or when my leg heals, then I'll be able to make it. And I'm sure some of you even know people who have passed away because of riding recklessly or someone hit them. So when I was like in my early 20s, I think I was like living out the American dream, but for me, I felt like something didn't feel right. Like I felt really discontent. Like I graduated college, I started working, and then I had to wake up really early so that I can commute to go to work. When I got to work, I'm like sitting behind a computer all the time. And then after work is done, I get off work, commute back home, go home, eat, shower, maybe spend a few hours watching YouTube, and then go to sleep. And then I repeat the whole thing over and over. And then after a while, it's like, what am I really doing? And I think school gave me this false sense of reality, telling me that with my degree, I can change the world. And I played video games at an early age, so I played like Zelda and Mario. And I always thought like, maybe like one day I can like save a princess and like make a difference in the world. But here I was at 20 something, I'm like just sitting in a cubicle, like questioning what am I doing with my life. And it was just really depressing. And I don't know if you guys are able to relate, like just going to work, clocking in, and then leaving. So the good news is that God has a plan for all of us, or he has a reason or purpose for all of us. And I believe that all of you here today are here for a reason. Those that are watching have stumbled upon this message for a reason. And that's because God, the creator of the universe, who knit you in your mother's womb, who knows the numbers of hairs on your head, wants to have a personal relationship with you. So kind of summarizing this entire year, we talked about how we are like sinful by nature. We've done wrong things. Like, I think just like kids, they lie, they cheat, they steal, they get angry, they don't forgive people, and they disobey God. It's just like by our nature, we do these things. And when we pass away, we'll have to go before God and be accountable for every good and bad thing we've done. And like any criminal who's done something wrong, they deserve a punishment, and our deserved punishment is eternal separation from Him. So this really displeased God, and what He did was, like 2,000 years ago, He sent Jesus, who was fully man and fully God, to die for our place, kind of as like a sacrifice, so that when we pass away and God's like, all these things you've done wrong, but I'm putting them on my Son so that you can be blameless and you can go into heaven where there's no sickness, death, there's no like hunger. So God says, if you believe in this, then like that's yours. You'll be forgiven. You can spend eternity with me. Okay, for those of you who don't have a relationship with God yet, that's something that I encourage you to seek. And for those of you who already have a relationship with God, I encourage you to keep living a transformed life, sharing the good news with other people. It's kind of like a beggar who's found food. You kind of want to let other people know, like, hey, this is where the food is. And God is more than capable of doing this on His own. Come in.
Morning.
Morning. Yeah, God's very capable of doing this on His own. Like, He created the world. He can more than do this on His own, but He invites us to be part of His story. And I think when we live for God, then we'll receive the greatest joy. Yeah. Matthew 6:19 through 20 says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moth and vermin do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal." So what does this mean? It means that you can spend all of your life living for earthly things, or you can spend your life living for accumulating things in heaven when you pass away. So for me, what that meant was, instead of going to work and just putting in my hours, grinding through, it meant building relationships with my coworkers and really investing in their lives. It wasn't about just making money so that I could buy nice things for myself. It was about making money so I can help other people who are in need. And it wasn't about just like wasting my time watching YouTube videos or watching TV or like scrolling on Instagram or Facebook feeds or playing a lot of video games. It meant like using my time to volunteer and help people that are in need. So life kind of changed from, how am I gonna just like grind out work and kind of what can I accumulate for my own kingdom? It became like, when I wake up, how am I gonna help people around me today? So it's like changing your perspective from an earthly kingdom to an eternal kingdom. And I realized that life isn't about being like Link and Zelda or Mario, like about saving the world. It's more like a co-op where we're all playing together and we're trying to achieve the same goal. So I just want to end with, I encourage you to take on this eternal perspective and not store up treasures on earth but in heaven, and see how God will be able to make a difference through your life. So we'll just go into a time of discussion, and we'll answer two questions. The first is, think about what you do during the day. What do you spend the most time on? And then two, how are you able to rearrange your time, and what can you do to help other people or for God's kingdom? So thank you.
I used to take my R6 on the track. This, I think, they made a bunch of these.